Hey y'all, it's Kelly from Dixie Darlins Tumblers, and I've got a fun little twist on a tumbler today that I'm going to apply foils to. I've not seen anybody do a matte tumbler over foils yet. So, Jessica Flynn's kind of the one that started this whole matte trend probably over a year ago now. And I loved it. I love the way the tumblers feel when you make them matte. And so I made a ton of these, but I'd kind of gotten away from it. And I just had never gone really back to it after I made this whole run of them. So I thought, well, let me just see what it would look like if you do a matte over a foil. And y'all, I got these red rosy foils in. These foils are from Southern Belle Glitter. Y'all know I'm all over these foils right now. I got them in, I put them on the cup, and they look like basically liquid red. I had a fit over them, but I already kind of had committed in my mind that I was gonna do this matte cup. So I did matte the cup, and one of the things I love about these is that if you matte it and you don't like it, you just put another layer of epoxy and it's shiny again. So I haven't really decided how I'm gonna keep this, but I thought at least let me bring the concept to you guys. So it's really fun, I had fun working on it. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I will link all the products that I use down in the description box below, so y'all make sure to check out those links, as well as some discount codes I'll include for y'all. And as always, I try to encourage y'all to join my Dixie Darlins Tumblers Facebook group. We have so much fun over there. I go live every Sunday night, every Wednesday night. Now we're doing Fun Foil Fridays and gonna work on a new project every Friday. So we're having a lot of fun, so make sure you hop over there and join us. And y'all, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss my future tutorials. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. So I've already spray painted this cup, y'all. I've sanded it. It's a 20-ounce stubby from Craft Haven. And I just wanted to get more in the foil and the matte process today in this tutorial versus in the basics of it. I will reference a few tutorials that you guys could go back to, but I've just basically sanded this cup. I spray painted it black, and I do have a layer of epoxy over it. So a lot of people ask, can you put the foils directly on the spray paint? You can, but I'm just one of those that I like to put a barrier in between things. So if I got these foils on here and I didn't like them or whatever, at least my base color is still the same, and I can at least sand down to that point. So I'm taking this adhesive, and this is by Deco Foil. It is a transfer gel duo, and it's a two-way. You can use it with heat or no heat. I prefer to use the kind with heat just because you can put your heat gun on it and it speeds up the process a little bit. And so I've just basically taken my little paintbrush here, and you can see I'm just making random brush strokes. I'm just going to do these random marks around the cup. I knew I didn't want there to be any kind of really organization to it. I just want them to be very random, and I wanted them to go at an angle. I'd actually seen a nail design that kind of looked like this, and they had the nail design was matte. And so that's kind of where the concept came from, and it was just like randomly placed on the nails, these kind of sideways brush strokes. So I'm just going to take my brush here, my paintbrush, and I just brush these on, and then these are red rosy foils from Southern Belle Glitter. And you can see I just kind of brush it on, and then it kind of allows it to dry. I did one to start with, and then I'm going to kind of just work my way on around the cup, doing them just kind of it's really to your own discretion, y'all, however you think it looks best. And then I'm going to take my heat gun and I'll dry it just a little bit, and then I'm just going to place the foils on there. And you can see on the foil that's laying on the table how well it comes off. Like basically the whole thing comes right off on the cup. And y'all, it really does. These look like liquid red to me. That was the best way I know to describe it. So you can see I've got them on there, and then after they dry, I basically am going to go into 2 layers of epoxy before I'm going to go into my decal, and then I'm going to go into another 2 layers before I actually matte. So this was a file that is actually included in the Letter by Stephanie SVG Club. You guys might have heard me talk about that. She has a monthly club that you can join. You can join it monthly, quarterly, or yearly, and she puts out at least 15 new SVGs, and they're exclusive to her club. So she doesn't put these in her Etsy store. You basically have to be in this club to get this. And then she also offers an upgrade where you could get all the previous files since she started the club, and that was back in like May of 2019, I believe. I've been in the club for a really long time, and y'all, there are so many files, and it makes it so much easier because I can just go right there and usually find what I'm looking for. So these are beautifully hand lettered files. So you guys check that out. I'll put that link down in the description box for that as well if you guys are interested in it. So I decided I wanted to use one of her files, and I thought I maybe was just going to do it in this red metallic. But there's also a metallic that came out that's like almost like a clear coat with the glitter on it. And I also got that, both of these came from the Vinyl Cottage. You guys know that's where I always get my vinyl. And I'll link the exact colors. So I liked the red on there. I almost wanted it to blend in, but I just wanted a little bit of sparkle. So I am going to go back and layer this other clear coat that has a little bit of glitter in it on top of it. I just thought it was really so pretty. And just because I have a tendency to not always lay things really straight, I kind of do it one word at a time. And this vinyl is actually called Sparkling Metallic Glitter Crystal Clear. I call it clear coat, but it's actually crystal clear. But it's so pretty because you can layer it over it and it keeps the color of what's underneath. But you can kind of see it just adds a little bit of sparkle to it. So I've really, really used a lot of this lately because you can use it underneath as kind of an offset, or this time I decided to use it on top just to kind of see what it would look like, because I thought this is really just adds this a little bit of sparkle on top of the red this time. And then in Design Space, I didn't really create a true offset of this. I just did two versions of it. So I kept it the same size. I did the red version and then this crystal clear. And basically I printed off the same size, the exact same thing. And I think this is measured. I usually do about 3.5 inches wide, because if you get much more than that, you're going to see where you can't see the decal if you're looking straight at the cup. When it kind of tends to wrap around too far. And sometimes I like that look, but on this one I really wanted you to be able to see the Stop Doubting and Believe. I wanted you to be able to see all of it on one side of the cup. So here I'm just taking my transfer tape, and you can see I'm kind of just doing one line at a time just to make sure that I can so I'm barely just laying it offset a little bit. So this isn't a true offset. It's kind of my cheat version when I don't want to go into Inkscape and create an offset. I just kind of print it out twice in two different vinyls, and then I just kind of lay one off to the side. And on this one especially, you could do it because I'm really wanting the red from underneath to pull through on this crystal clear anyway. So it's kind of just my little cheat way to do it when I don't want to go create a real offset. And then I am going to go ahead and sand the cup here. I've just got my sanding block. I'm using either a 60 or 80 grit is what I usually use. Sometimes if they're worn down a little bit, I'll use the 60. But I'm basically just going to sand a rim around the cup here right before I go into my final layers of epoxy. And then basically after I have my decal on here, this one stuck pretty good because I did pretty much go in. Once I let my epoxy dry, I went right into my decal. So I'm not going to do a layer of quick coat or anything to seal that decal. And I am going to go into 2 layers of epoxy here. I'm using Counterculture's medium viscosity artist resin. And on this 20-ounce stubby, I use between 15 and 20 milliliters. I'm going to do 2 coats just because I want those 2 final coats to be really good. I want to make sure that the decal is covered up really well, because I will say if you go to matte things and there's any kind of little issue with your epoxy, if there's any little sharp edges or if it's not completely smooth, a lot of people have asked the question, I know since Jessica did this tutorial, we've seen the question of, does that hide it? If anything, I would say when you matte a cup, it's going to bring out every imperfection in that cup, or at least it does for me. So that's kind of what I've learned through the process of working on these matte cups, is that I want it perfectly smooth. I don't want there to be any issues with the epoxy, because if there is, it's definitely going to show up. So I apply the first coat. I wait about 4 hours. I apply the second coat, and I let this dry overnight, y'all, because I just want to make sure that it's really good and cured fairly well before I'm going to go into the final sand. So I am going to use steel wool, and I'm going to use this grade number 00. So black is by far the hardest color to matte. So I just kind of wanted to just dive on into that and kind of see. And this is how I do it. Some people use a gloved finger the entire time. For me, it just takes too long. So I've kind of figured out through trial and error that I'm going to take this final sand and I'm going to kind of do one pass with my steel wool. And then I'm going to rinse that off, and then I'll go back the second time with just my gloved finger that time. And I make little circles. You can see I'm never really scrubbing up and down from the top to the bottom of the cup. You want to work in like a circular motion, especially on black, y'all. It tends to show scratches the worst. So, and I don't apply too much pressure because I am using the steel wool. So I'm just going to make one big pass over the cup, and you can see it's just a constant like circular motion here. You want to make sure you get the top edges, the bottom edges, make sure you get the bottom. And as you're going around from the side to the bottom, if you don't have very thick layers of epoxy, you want to be really careful because you will get down to the paint. So you want to be careful, but then I also, I want it to be really good and matte. So I'm just going to keep working my way around here, and I'm just going to kind of let you guys watch. And then I'll rinse it off. I do wet the cup just a little bit. I don't want it too wet, just so the final sand will work. But you want a little moisture in it. And then if you need to go back and add a little bit more, you can add a little bit more. That's probably, like, I do that about twice. And I usually add a little bit, that much on one side, and then I go back. And by the time I get around to the other side, I may add just a little bit more, just about that size. Just, like a little dime size. You really don't need that much. It does not take very much of this at all. And mine tends to get a little dry as I'm working my way around the cup with the steel wool. And I found that works fine. So it doesn't have to stay, the cup doesn't have to stay wet the whole time. If the drier it gets to me, it almost does better. But I do want a little moisture in the cup to start with. And then after I feel like I've made a pretty good run over it, I'm just going to rinse the cup off. And then I'm going to take some paper towels and dry it. And you'll see here that, like, it's going to look shiny again. And even when you start wiping it with a paper towel, you're going to think that it's shiny. But you can kind of see, I kind of tried to show you guys here, that as you're drying it, you've really got to take that moisture out of it before you see how good of a matte job you did. So sometimes you'll think that it's not, but you guys can see, like, that's just one pass and it does really well. So just because it does tend to get a little bit scratched up, you can go in and buff it back out. So that's kind of what I do. So I go in with my second time. I'm going to go with the gloved finger, and there was a little area on the bottom that I knew needed a little extra scrubbing. So I did go in with the steel wool, but you're going to see, I'm just going to take the final sand and I'm going to add it on there, and then I'm just going to rub it with my gloved finger after the bottom's always a tough one and around to the side. For whatever reason, for me, it tends to be the one area that I don't ever get really good coverage of, and usually I have to go back a second time with that one. And then here I've just added more, and you can kind of see I'm just working my way in that same circular motion, but I'm just doing it with, and I'm not applying really heavy pressure here, but I'm just kind of going around in a little circle here with, just a gloved hand. So it almost like sorry about that, y'all. It was almost like it buffs out, any little areas that might have gotten scratched by the steel wool. So I'm just going to work my way around that and then rinse it off, and then your cup's done. And y'all, don't get frustrated if you try to do black. If you've never done a matte cup, black may not be the first color that you want to start with, because I have done a lot of these and it's been a lot of trial and error for me. And it takes a little bit of elbow grease. Like, it takes a little, like, I can remember when I would have, like a dozen of these to do at a time, my arm would be worn out by the time I was finished. So, don't get discouraged. It's just a little bit of trial and error, and it's really just what works for you. And then I just go back in with a paper towel, and, you just kind of take a little bit of that moisture out, and you'll see, if there's little areas you need to go back, you just go back in and touch them up. So it's really not hard. It just takes a little bit of time, a little practice, and a little bit of elbow grease to get it done. And then here's our final design. I really like how it turned out. The image that I had where they had done the nails, this is very similar to what I saw. And I wanted to just try it and just kind of see what the foils would look like, because I know that some of the metallic vinyl stands out. It looks really pretty. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun, crazy stuff. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all again soon.